This is the Red Line Network.
Idly ho, good neighbors. Welcome, my little chickadees. It's another edition of Student Body Right, all things college football. I'm your host, Ryan Neff, here on the Red Line Radio Network. Welcome. Hope you enjoy it. Coming up at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Scott Rippee will be on with me. He covers Ole Miss football. Fantastic season last year, but the Lane Kiffin mess. Obviously, they won a playoff game. Could have won the second one. They bumped into Miami. Couldn't win that one. Competitive game. Should have won that one. Could have won that one. Could have, should have, would have. Pick his brain about what this upcoming season may entail. I expect, again, big things from Ole Miss. Then at 7:30, Jamey Vinnick will join me, talk Washington State football. Washington with the newly revamped pack, whatever it is, for this year. And then next year, I believe, everybody else will come over to form the new pack, whatever. Pick his brain about Washington State, what their chances might be. So pick his brain. Again, today, more SEC media days. Some news and headlines from around the world in college football. Georgia running back Dante Dowdell, he has been hospitalized or was hospitalized after an ATV accident. Reported by Mark Schlabach, Espen. Again, a lot of Espen layoffs today. He was not one of them. He is being treated for serious injuries at a hospital in Atlanta, unfortunately. Bulldogs coach Kirby Smart confirmed to ESPN on Tuesday. Dowdell transferred from Kentucky, if you remember, if you follow it. He was injured near his home in Pecan, Mississippi. Details of the accident aren't known. SEC Media Days, Kirby Smart said he's injured. We don't know when his return will be. I don't know the specifics of it. To be honest with you, it was a recreational vehicle and he had some serious injuries. So, depending on how serious the injuries are, could put his season in jeopardy, obviously. Kirby Smart said that Georgia wants to be more explosive and bigger in the college football playoff. Reported by Pete Thamel, ESPN. Kirby said, we've got to find a way to, whether we win the SC or not, to get into that playoff and play better and play bigger in bigger moments. He went on to say the strength of our team is the physical toughness. So Georgia the last couple of years has fallen short by Kirby Smart standards, to be quite honest with you. Also at SC Media Days, Alex Galesh's goal for Auburn is to return the football program to national relevance, reported by David Hale, ESPN. Just reading some of the stuff here. He said, when I'm talking to a high school junior, the last time Auburn had a winning season, the kid was in 6th grade. Auburn hasn't finished with a winning record since 2019, only 7 wins, by the way. He said, my mindset is I want to do it for the long haul, where at USF, we tried to set it up to peak in year 3, 4, 5, but I feel just a hair more pressure to peak earlier than that. Galesh said Auburn was the top 5 program in the country for a long time. Like 10 years ago, we've got to get back to that. And that's where all the time and energy has been getting kids around us. It's been changing a mindset even in our own state. Auburn's tough. They've been down probably for the last 6-7 years, to be quite honest with you. Gene Chizik won a national title, but that was what, 16 years ago? Really haven't been relevant since then, since Cam was there. What else at SC Media Days? Reported by Andrea Adelson. So it says Vanderbilt's next quarterback one doesn't need to perform like Pavea, says head coach Clark Lee. What did he say today? He said, I don't actually believe that the player needs to perform the way that Diego performed. We have to focus on ways to strengthen as a team to take pressure off that position. I don't know how it's going to look. The story is yet to be written. I do know that I'm excited for it and will be excited to kind of see it unfold through training camp. Look, Vanderbilt had a fantastic year last year. Pavea, obviously runner-up in the Heisman. But now you have to revamp. He's not there anymore. I'll be interested to see what Mr. Lee does with that program this year. We'll see. Also at SC Media Days, returning quarterback Lenora Sellers. They're trying to look past last year. They were 4-8 last year. Big things were expected of them last year. He said today, I believe you got to leave places better than you found them. That's what I always taught. I was always taught. I built relationships here. There was no point in going somewhere else to start over for just a year. He said there was no outside noise. This is the coach, actually, Shane Beamer. There was no outside noise like, is he answer a quarterback, head coach Beamer said. Some people picking South Carolina to rebound this year. I have to see it. A lot of people last year were high on South Carolina in the East. I was not one of them. You always need to see it on the field. I didn't see it last year. They were in some games last year that they should have won. They should have never lost. But they did. What else here from the world of college football? Thanks for the like. Whoever hit me up with the like, fantastic. Again, questions, criticism, comments, always welcome. This is reported by the Associated Press. NCAA Division II panel pushes for age-based eligibility starting in 26-27. The Division II Management Council recommended the division's executive board adopt a model that would create a 5-year period of eligibility effective for the 2026-2027 academic year. Under the proposal, an athlete's eligibility would begin upon initial full-time enrollment or the regular academic year immediately following the student athlete's 19th birthday, whichever occurs earlier. If you remember last month, Division I approved this model. What does it say here? The Division II model would replace the current Division II model, giving athletes 4 seasons of competition to be completed within their first 10 semesters or 15 quarters of full-time enrollment. It's a lot of gobbledygook. Excuse me. Yeah, just some more gobbledygook jargon. Earlier today on ESPN, Paul Feinbaum said he's not surprised by a potential SEC breakaway. I did not see what he said, but I'm not surprised either. Look, again, Greg Sankey started this all in motion when he allowed Oklahoma and Texas into the SEC. That got the ball rolling. I said 5-6 years ago that the SEC and the Big Ten at some point were probably going to form a super conference on their own, break away from the NCAA, and be done with it. Whether it happens or not, I don't know. But I didn't think a lot of this other stuff would happen either. So anything that Greg Sankey has to say now, it's like a crocodile grin. Yeah, that's really what it is when it comes to Sankey anymore. He'll say one thing. I think it was a couple of months ago or 3 months ago where he just basically said, "No, that's not going to happen. We're not going to break away." I don't believe him. So, um, what else here from the SEC media days? Again, I don't get into the whole SEC media day gobbledygook because that's all it is. It's just like a lot of rhetoric. You got this person saying stuff about one program, XYZ. But I see him in the green room, Brian Scott Rippee at B S Rippee on the Twitter. Can't read. Writing rippeewrites.substack.com. Sign up now for half off the original cost of $0.10. Also at CBS 247 podcast, part of at MPW _digital, former MAIS athlete. Let's bring him on, ladies and gentlemen. Here he is.
What's up, man? How are you?
Good. Look, let's just delve into it here. Obviously, Ole Miss with a fantastic year last year. Minus the whole Kiffin crap, because Lane just does what he wants to do anyway, with no regards for anybody else. He doesn't care about anybody else. He just cares about Lane. Look, heading into this season, I'm still expecting big things from Ole Miss. Offensively was not a problem last year. And I had to look up the defensive stats. Defensively, they were okay. But, Chambliss is back. Different coach. Defensive-minded coach, by the way. I believe he's a defensive-minded coach. Am I correct in that assumption?
Pete Golding?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator for 2.5 years. They hired him away from Nick Saban's staff, which is probably a little bit of a stretch. He was on Nick Saban's staff for several years, and I think there was probably going to be a mutual parting of ways at the end of the 2022 season. And Pete's wife is from Mississippi. Pete played football in Mississippi at Delta State, the D2 program here we have in the Delta. And so it kind of made sense. So he made his way over and has been, honestly, for all the crap he took at Alabama, which they didn't like, which I think was more of a product of like the changing tempo of college football, to spread short possession offenses, even from Alabama side of like they became more of a spread tempo offense. You think Bryce Young and all those quarterbacks that were there during the last 6 years. That anyway, he caught a lot of crap for that. Has been a pretty good defensive coordinator. We'll see how he is as a head coach. Certainly performed well in the playoff, but now this is his program. But yeah, Ole Miss should be really good this year. They returned the best quarterback in the SEC, the first or second best running back in the SEC, depending on how you want to compare him to Ahmad Hardy at Missouri, but obviously a pretty dynamic tandem there. They return enough on the offensive line that I think they'll be pretty formidable offensively. It's just down to, can they replicate what they did under Kiffin with the new offensive coordinator, who is a guy who's worked for him before, which I think was an intentional hire by Pete Golding, and I think a smart one by him. But yeah, they'll be pretty good this year. But the problem is the schedule stiffens up. One of the things that nobody wanted to talk about during the Lane Kiffin era was he was really, really good. He brought Ole Miss to a lot of wins. The 2024 and 2025 seasons that Ole Miss had were about as light of an SEC schedule that you will ever have. It just is it's a reality. They had 8 home games in 2025, and good on him for winning all of them. But I guess my point in saying that is Pete Golding could have one hell of a year, could maybe have a better football team on paper than they had last year, but go 9-3 or 8-4 because of how ridiculous the schedule is now. It's a different calculus in terms of your opponents, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and look, the SEC, with the way the SEC is now, I mean, it's wide open. Of course, Texas A&M is going to be good. I get it. Texas is going to be good. I get it. It just seems like, I don't know what Golding did in the transfer portal, but it just seems like if Ole Miss can replicate what they did offensively last year and just stiffen up on the defensive side of the ball, now they're going to go 11-0, 12-0 again, like this year as they did last year? Probably not, because the SEC, like you said, with Ole Miss having an easy schedule last year, they just tend to beat up on one another. So what say you? What are you hearing? I don't know if I forgot to check. Ole Miss had a spring game. Spring games are spring games. You really don't tell you much, to be honest with you. But what have you seen? What are you hearing? I know they're going to be in camp in about another 3 weeks. So I'm of the impression, again, like I said, they can replicate what they did offensively last year and just stiffen up on the defensive side of the ball a little bit. They should have another successful year.
Yeah, I think if this Ole Miss team meets expectations and Pete Golding is validated as the head coach, it's because of how good his defense is. I think the offense is going to be pretty good. It may not be quite as dynamic as it was under Lane Kiffin. Look, I'm not irrational about this. Lane Kiffin's one of the best offensive minds for all he is in college football. Charlie Weiss Jr. is a very good offensive coordinator who's a very good and probably underrated play caller. He caught a lot of flack here for pretty much anytime anything went wrong. But if John David Baker, who worked for Kiffin and was a big reason that Jackson Dart actually came to Ole Miss, is now the offensive coordinator here, if he can replicate 75% of what the offense was under Kiffin for most of his tenure, even last year was, it's going to all come down to if Pete Golding's defense is good, which I think it will be. They return a lot of guys. I think they're a little bit shaky at the linebacker position, but if Ole Miss becomes a playoff team this year and they go through a 9-game SEC schedule at 10-2 and make the playoff, I think it will be because of Pete Golding's defense and also his acumen as a head coach. But I think that's what it comes down to. I would be really, really stunned given what they return at quarterback and running back if the offense totally bombed. Now, after next year, I could be open-minded to any sort of result as far as the Ole Miss offense. But given the familiarity of the system and what they return, I would just be shocked if they were terrible offensively. So to me, all eyes are on the new head coach's side of the football, and he's made no bones about it. He's going to be the defensive coordinator. That's just what he wants to do. I wonder how long that will last in his tenure because there's so many things you have to do as head coach. But yeah, if Ole Miss is good this year and they make the playoff or they get close to it, I think it's down to Golding's defense. To be honest, that's where I'm looking at this season.
Offensively, they returned most of the pieces. On offense. Where do they need to improve defensively? I had to go look up at the statistics, but of course my Verizon pad is giving me issues. I'm trying to remember they were good against the pass, but not against the run from what I remember last year, or was it vice versa?
It was kind of a hit or miss by game. I'm sure the stats, if you look at the entire body of work for the season, probably outline what you just said, but it just kind of depended on the game. There were moments where this defense was pretty good. The Miami game actually kept them in the football game. Mm-hmm. They didn't lose that game because of their defense, but then like you think about the game they played in Athens last year, where if they literally gotten one stop in the second half, they probably win the football game. I mean, hell, they were literally up 9 by basically playing the game of we doubled them up after halftime because Ole Miss scored and then got the ball after the second half. And like literally if the defense had gotten one single stop in that game, they probably beat Georgia and Athens. And, who knows what happens from there because they probably win the SEC or win the SEC regular season. Anyway, that's another rabbit hole. But I guess my point being is it was a little bit hit or miss in terms of what they need to replace this year. I would say they're a little bit more susceptible. I'd probably go run defense because I'm not sure what they have at linebacker. They have to replace a little bit in the secondary that's concerning, but linebacker is the biggest concern to me. But they're going to be pretty damn formidable in that front four with Eccles and everybody they return back. They don't lose a ton of production on the defensive line, so they're going to be pretty good there.
With all the stuff that went on with Trinidad in the offseason, is it going to be a distraction for him during this season? Because there's going to be some reporters out there that are going to ask him it from week to week. Is it still affecting you? I'm not saying that will happen, but you know how people are.
Like in terms of like him getting his eligibility?
Yeah, because there were some people that, okay.
He won his court case. And like, should that have gone? Look, do I agree with the fact that like these guys going to court to regain eligibility and finding a favorable judge to grant them eligibility? Do I think that's right or good for college football? No, not at all. But if you look at like Trinidad's case, he is by far and away like he's 15 degrees away from like the worst offender of this practice, I would say.
Right.
Like he played 4 years at a D2 school, Did he have a real great case with the tonsillitis to be granted another year? I would say probably not. I think that's a fair assessment, but a judge found it that way. And I think the reason that this is probably not going to gain much steam after this is, one, people are going to forget about it because there's going to be another case that's more egregious. And two, it's not like he's the 25-year-old trying to go for a 7th or 8th year. Like he was, a lot got made of that, but he was by far and away, like one of the worst offenders from that rule. And so, no, I don't think so. And honestly, if they were to ask him about it, what is the end game of that? He's a pretty savvy media kid for his age and his maturity. What do you say? I don't know. The court ruled me eligible. They say I'm eligible. I'm going to keep playing college football. Like, what would his answer be? Like, no, I shouldn't be here. Like, I don't see that being a thing. And honestly, I would actually give a lot of credit to the Brendan Sorsby ordeal for that. Like, everyone remembers that now as the story of the offseason, where Chambliss was like kind of that beforehand. And I mean, imagine if Sorsby was still eligible to play college football. That would dominate everything. I don't think it'll be that. I don't think people will care, because if you think about it in this sense, and I'll close on this, is it's just his 6th year of college football. And he did sit out 1.5 years. Did he have a good reason to get another year back? Again, probably not. But he's not gaming the system like a lot of the other people are out there.
A couple more things, I'll get you out of here. I'm looking at the schedule coming up this year. Obviously, they'll beat Charlotte.
You'd hope.
They'll beat Louisville. They should beat Louisville. They get them at home. Then the big one, Lane Kiffin comes back to town. 7:30 p.m. game, by the way. That's a toss-up for me, because you know what's going to be on their mind. They want to send him. They want to thump him badly.
I'd say, to put it mildly.
Then they play Florida, my Gators, which Swamp's always a tough place to play. I still have to see it from Summerall. I can see like the look concern on your face a little bit, or no?
No, 100%. To me, that's a see it to believe it game for Pete Golding at Ole Miss. If they're a good football team that's going to make the college football playoff, you have to win that game. They're like, if they lose at Florida, find me the path for them making the playoff, unless something crazy happens. I don't think it exists. They have to, but that's definitely going to be I think Summerall is. I mean, he worked here at Ole Miss briefly when I was still covering the team full time. I'm a gigantic Summerall believer. He's going to be a good coach. I don't know what he'll have in year one. But yeah, I mean, that's the Swamp at night. That ain't going to be easy. Ask Hugh Freeze. I mean, he ruined his 2015 season that night down there in the Swamp. Like, it ain't easy to play down there.
They should beat Vandy, because Vandy's got they're in rebuild mode without Pavea.
Still,
I don't see it. I think Ole Miss will win that one. Missouri comes to town October 17th. Sort of maybe a toss-up. Then they have to go to Texas, which is going to be a tall order. They get Auburn at home. That should be a W. Then they get Georgia. Toss-up for me. They travel to Oklahoma. We'll see.
That was their trade-off, though, right? This new schedule, you get LSU at home for the 2nd year in a row, but you have to go back to Norman. That's just Oklahoma. Kind of the trade-off.
Wofford is whatever. Then the Egg Bowl. And then the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State, and you think can happen in a rivalry game. What would be a successful year in Golding's first year, record-wise, do you think? 9-3?
9-3, but I'll also consider 8-4, depending on how it looks, if that makes sense, depending on who they beat and who they lost to. But I think they're going to be 9-3, and I think they've got to be. I don't think 9-3 gets them in the playoff, particularly without this expanded playoff. And I mean, I'm sure you followed SEC Media Days. People are pissed about this 9-game schedule with no playoff expansion guaranteed. 9-3 gets you in the mix unless they back in their way to it. But 9-3, you're in the discussion in November, and I think that's a successful season. 8-4 again could be a possibility depending on how it looks. So are you 6-2 in December, or 8-2 in December, or excuse me, November, and have a couple close losses? Depending on how the aesthetics of that look, that's possible. But I mean, he can't go 7-5. I promise you, there's no world where 7-5 is acceptable and like widely received by this fan base. Is okay, this will be fine. It's 9-3 probably, with maybe a little wiggle room at 8-4.
So 7-5. You think they call for his head?
Oh, there will be people that do that. Now, whether the administration actually acts on that, I don't know. My gut here is on July 20th or 21st or whatever this is no. But I don't think Pete Golding will have a terribly long leash. This was not who they want. I'm trying to think about how to phrase this correctly. They were forced to hire him. Kiffin put them in a position where they couldn't conduct a real coaching search. I think if Kiffin decided at the beginning of November that was leaving, I think John Summerall is the coach at Ole Miss today. I really believe that. And a lot of that is not just belief. So, yes, this was not their plan A coming out of the Kiffin era. So, I don't think they'll fire him after a year. I don't think they do that at 7-5, but he doesn't have a long leash. This should not be treated like any other year one head coach, like a Will Stein or a Silverfield. This is not that. Like he has to perform to some degree. If you told me they went 5-7, now I could see maybe they make a move after a year for sure.
Last thing before I get you out of here, you heard Greg Sankey, what he said. Paul Feimsaw, he said he would not be surprised if the SEC breaks away. I've been saying it for the last 5 years, Mr. Rippee, that the SEC and the Big Ten behind the scenes are in cahoots to form a super conference. I'm not saying it'll happen, but I think they'd really seriously consider it with everything that's going on.
Oh, 100%. Look at this new college football playoff deal of the amount of power that the added power the SEC and the Big Ten get. Do you think that was by accident? Hell no, it wasn't. They want control and they're mad. And like Sankey, I feel like is using the breakaway excuse now publicly because he got played. He got kind of swindled to add a ninth conference game and obviously did not get a firm enough agreement that expansion would happen faster or they would. What was that quote he had this week? Was we had an unsatisfactory conversation with the college football playoff committee. It's like, dude, that's your job. Like your job before agreeing to go to a ninth game was to have this assurance in place. Like you can't cry foul about it now. And he's now using this whole we might just break away thing as like, yeah, we've been wronged and all of that. It's like, dude, you're not a victim here. This is your job to negotiate this. So yeah, I think it could happen. I think what's holding this up from happening is a couple of things. Is I don't think either conference knows what that looks like. How do you govern yourselves? How are you actually your own entity? But in terms of want to and the monetary ability to, yeah, this is trending towards that. Again, the new college football playoff agreement is that the SEC and the Big Ten basically get more say than anyone on who's in their invitational, which is really what it is more than a playoff. So yeah, I think it's trending that way. But I think whether it's me or you asking this or the conferences themselves, I think nobody knows what that looks like. And I think that's really the only thing preventing them from doing it is like, what does that actually look like? Who funds it and who governs it, to be totally honest. I know they've been floating this self-governance thing. I'll believe that shit when I see it. Like you're going to punish your own schools because, by the way, you're hired by these presidents. Like you're going to punish the people that feed you. I don't get that. And so, yeah, I think it's coming. I think nobody knows what it looks like quite yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Brian Scott Rippee. He covers Ole Miss. I said it in the beginning, but tell the people where they can get a hold of you, where they can read your material.
Yeah, sure. I'm at BS Rippee on Twitter. I do a Substack called Rippee Writes. I have a podcast called the Rippee Writes Podcast that you can either find under my feed, wherever you get podcasts, or the MPW digital feed, which is under the 247 network. So anyway, thanks for having me on as always, man.
Yes, sir. I am going to have my third annual college football preview special, probably toward the end of August. I will invite you to come on. We'll talk about Ole Miss again. We'll talk about the SEC, who you think is going to win it this year, and some good stuff.
I'll be there, man. I enjoyed it as always. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Brian Scott Rippee. I think if Golding goes 9-3 this year at Ole Miss, I think that would be a successful season. But again, the schedule's kind of brutal. They play Georgia, play Texas, they play Oklahoma, play Florida in the swamp. He's high on Summerall. I'm not. I have to see it first. I want to see what Summerall does at Florida for my Gators in the first year. He doesn't have his guys in there, obviously. Now, he's probably gone to the transfer portal to bring in some of his guys. But we'll see. Hopefully coming up at 7:30. Right now it's 7:30 or 7:30-ish. It is 7:30 here on the East Coast. It'll be 4:30 on the West Coast. 5:30 Mountain Time and 6:30 Central Time. It just the whole Lane Kiffin thing last year. It was just the guy's an ass. He's an ass, and he doesn't care. He doesn't care what you think about him. He doesn't care what USC fans think about him. He doesn't care what Tennessee fans think about him. He doesn't care about what FAU fans thought about him, and he doesn't care what Ole Miss fans think about him. And he won't give a shit about what LSU fans think about him. He just has the ability, as a narcissist, to block that out. He cares about his family. But everybody else he could give a rat's ass about. He doesn't give a shit. Period. See what else? I was looking for some more college football news. Let's see here. Just trying to look at my ticker here to see if anything. Nothing has come across the wire. We're fast approaching. Oh, I found this amusing. I am on collegefootballnews.com. Last week, they were trying to project what they thought that the AP preseason top 25 was going to look like. And let's see what they have here. Is it going to let me take a look at it? This is what they think that the AP projected preseason top 25 will be. They've got, and of course now it's not going to let me look at it. Nope, it's not going to let me look at it for some reason. I don't know why. So Baghdad. What else? This reported by NCAA Football News, Yardbarker. They came out with an article called "What the Updated Projected College Sports Act Would Change for College Athletes." Senate lawmakers are advancing major changes to the Protect College Sports Act, bipartisan legislation that would reshape college athletics through expanded NIL protections, new transfer rules, conference realignment provisions, and stronger safeguards for women's and Olympic sports. One of the bill's primary goals is to establish uniform NIL guidelines across college athletics. The legislation would protect college athletes' right to profit from their name, image, and likeness while creating a national framework for NIL, blah, 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 blah. The U.S. Senate Commerce Committee, which approved the bill, released a statement saying the landmark bill sets new rules and provides new tools to stabilize college sports, including codifying athletes' rights to earn compensation for the NIL, enshrining scholarship and healthcare protections in law, reining in predatory agents, and preserving and protecting the future of women's and Olympic sports. Conference realignment. There you go. According to CBS Sports, the proposal would cap Power 4 conferences at 19 or 20 member schools. And it's another reason why the SEC wants to break away, probably. Under the proposal, most Power 4 schools seeking to change conferences would first be required to spend 5 years as an independent before joining a new league. Notre Dame and UConn, however, would be exempt from that waiting period, go figure. Because they are already independent, allowing them to join a Power 4 conference immediately if they choose. Women's and Olympic sports protections. What does it say here? The proposal would prevent major athletic departments from reducing the number of women's sports, Olympic sports roster spots, and scholarships, which I agree with. Transfer rules. Here we go. The legislation would establish new restrictions on athlete transfers by limiting how often student athletes may transfer without affecting their eligibility. The changes would provide greater roster stability while encouraging academic continuity, which I agree with. The SC also voiced support for this aspect of the proposal. In a statement, Chair of SEC Presidents, Chancellors Donde Plowman, who serves as the Chancellor of the University of Tennessee, said the conference worked closely with senators during the drafting process and praised the bill's transfer and eligibility provisions. Again, if you're talking about transfers, again, this is what I think they should do. You wait till the national title game is over, and then you get a 10-day window after the national title game is over to transfer. But that's it. You're only allowed to transfer once. Period. No more transferring year to year. That bullshit should be done with. You get one time to transfer, and that's it. If somebody is at Ohio State, freshman, and after your sophomore year, if you feel like you're not getting a fair shake, feel like you're not getting a playoff time, it's just not working out. If you want to transfer once, great. You're at a program, freshman, sophomore, junior year, and you want to transfer for your senior year, fantastic. If you're a freshman and you want to transfer somewhere else, that's it. Once you transfer, you're done. You're stuck where you're at. You heard Brian Scott Rippee talking about Commissioner Sankey about his comments about the SEC breaking away. What does he say here? Over and over, our student athletes tell us the same thing when they line up for a kickoff, tip-off in a basketball game, first pitch in the spring, or when they put their feet in the starting blocks of a track meet. They want to know that every competitor from other teams from different campuses across different states, that those competitors are being held to the same standards that apply to them. Among all the press releases, legislative drafts, committees, hearings, and political commentary, that message from our student athletes to me is the clearest message we have heard. Hold everyone to the same standard. The SEC's frustrations over NIL, a new 5-year eligibility rule for college athletes, and the Protect College Sports Act have driven the conference close enough to a boiling point, one that has become hot enough for Sankey to address rumors of a potential breakaway from the NCAA. And this is what he said about SEC breaking away, the rumors and stuff. Oh, they're real, he said. People have talked about that. They've opined about the frustrations that bring them to the point of saying we should look at something significantly different. What I think is important is those comments represent a high level of frustration with the circumstance in which we find ourselves. We have regulated ourselves more progressively than other colleagues by choice across our league. We've had different academic eligibility restrictions in the past, so we have different transfer restrictions in the past. We went through a college football playoff discussion for years and introduced a 12-team playoff where it just sat because colleagues couldn't move. They had reasons, but those reasons really didn't resonate. So understand that beneath the observation is frustration, but I also know the pride with which I spoke of 13 national championships, and there is meaning and value, and I do think a national expectation that we participate in a national organization, but that national organization must function in a healthy manner. Otherwise, that simmering will continue. Boo fucking who. Look, I'm a Florida Gator guy through and through when it comes to football. But stop your fucking whining, man. Stop complaining. Stop complaining. Period. He's had it by the balls as long as he's been the SEC commissioner. I'm tired of hearing him speak. I'm also on Yardbarker. He has been ranked 7th nationally among college football quarterbacks for this year. The quarterbacks that are ahead of him are Trinidad Chambliss, Dante Moore, CJ Carr, Darian Mensah, Julian Sain, and Drew Mestamaker. So I'm sure if he sees that, he will have a chip on his shoulder. Again, hopefully Jamey Vinnick will be on soon. Talk about Washington State football. I had to go back and take a look because I completely forgot. Washington State, what they looked like last year. Let me go back to last year. They beat Idaho the first week. They beat San Diego State the second week. Then they lost to North Texas. They got hammered. Dropped them to 2-1. Then Washington hammered them 2-2. Beat Colorado State. They were 3-2. They barely lost to Ole Miss 3-3. They lost to Virginia in a close game 3-4. Beat Toledo 4-4. Then they lost a close one to Oregon State 4-5. Beat La Tech 5-5. Lost to James Madison. They were 5-6. Then they beat Oregon 6-6. And then they beat Utah State 34-21. So 7-6 with a bowl win. Quite successful with all the turmoil that's been going on with the Pac, whatever it is. And again, if I looked at last year's games, I mean, they got hammered by North Texas. They got hammered by Washington. Not good. But they only lost to Ole Miss by 3 at Ole Miss. They only lost to Virginia by 2. And they lost to Oregon State by 3. And they only lost to James Madison by 4. You win 2 of those other games, you're 9-4. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. If I look at their schedule this year, they're at Washington to start. Probably a W. And they're at Kansas State. Probably 2 losses. Home against Duquesne, that'll be a win. Versus Arizona, that's a toss-up. Versus Fresno State, they should win that one. It's at home. At Utah State will be tricky, but they beat them last year. At Oregon State, toss-up. Versus Boise, always tricky. Sorry, Boise State. At San Diego State, tricky place to play. Home against Colorado State, winnable. At Texas State, that should be a win. And then they play Oregon State. The final Saturday. Excuse me. That will be, yes, Thanksgiving weekend. The 2026 Pac-12 Football Championship, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, there is a Pac-12 Championship, which I think they should get rid of championship games, by the way. That'll be December 4th. And the Pac-12 Championship game will be played. The campus, I guess, whoever has the best record. That will be on their home field. It will not be neutral. So I think it's kind of asinine. championship game should be played on neutral field. I wouldn't see why they couldn't play at Santa Clara. That'll be a nice venue to have a championship game. We are less than 7 weeks away from the start of college football season. I'm just trying to. Again, I said if publications want to come out with their rankings, by all means. About 5 days ago, the ESPNs came out with their updated top 25. It goes as such. They have Tennessee at 25th. 24th, they've got the Houston Cougars. 23rd, they've got TCU. 22nd, they have SMU. 21st, they have Louisville. 20th, USC. 19th, Iowa. 18th, Utah. Washington State, 17th. 16th, they've got Alabama. 15th, Penn State. 14th, Michigan. 13th, Oklahoma. 12th, BYU. 11th, Texas Tech. LSU, 10th. Texas A&M, 9th. Ole Miss, they have 8th. Miami, they have 7th. Indiana, they have 6th. Texas, 5th. Notre Dame, they have 4th. Georgia, 3rd. The Ducks of Oregon, 2nd. And they've got Ohio State. Numero uno. Still waiting on Jamey Vinnick to come onto the program. Hopefully everything's okay. Maybe he got called on assignment or something. I don't know. But let me take this opportunity while I have a minute. Again, still waiting for Jamey Vinnick to come on here. I'll try and I don't like coming out. It's preseason shit with the ranking. They're beyond dumb. It's horrible. Like the AP, like I said, the AP and the coaches poll should go away. And that's putting it lightly. Trying to look over some other memorable quotes from SEC media days. Again, I just want to see football, man. I just want to see football. I don't want to see all the gobbledygook and blah, 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 blah. What else in the world of news in the college? This is the Bleacher Report. They've come out with their early 2026 college football matchups with college playoff implications, and I've gone over some of these. Week 0, dumb. We don't have any. They have one, Memphis and UNLV, which will be a sneaky good game, week 0. Week 1, Clemson at LSU, which I already had that circled. The best of the rest, week 1. the Apple Cup, which they're playing the very first week of the season, which is beyond stupid. By the way, should be played Thanksgiving weekend. Ole Miss Louisville, Notre Dame takes on Wisconsin, but I don't think Wisconsin will win that game. Week number 2, Ohio State, Texas. Go figure. I don't think Ohio State will win that one. Also in week 2, Michigan will be hosting Oklahoma. That'll be a good one. Oklahoma State takes on Oregon. A lot of people are high on Oklahoma State with Mestermaker there. People are circling Tennessee and Georgia Tech. Memphis has to travel to Boise State. That'll be a sneaky good one. Week 3, LSU at Ole Miss will be the big one. And then the rest of week 3, Florida State plays Alabama. Sorry. I don't know why they have that circle there. Tulane and Kansas State. And a partridge in the pear tree. I'm going to end it there. I hope everything's okay with Jamey Vinnick. Coming up, top of the hour here on the Redline Radio Network. Early evening sports buffet with the Ginch. I am Sid Ginch, your host, Ryan Neff. That'll be coming right at the top of the hour at 8 p.m. As I look out my window, it's storming, so hopefully we'll not lose power. So I'm out. I will see everybody at the top